What is going on today, guys? It is the Black Lantern Brooklyn Vale, and after about a 2 week hiatus, we are back late night with Take Three. I have a very excited panel here today. I have a couple of new faces and some returning veterans of the show. So I'm going to go first to my Canadian co-host, the Sandman, Sandy Robinson. Sandy, how you doing?
I am doing great, Brooklyn. It's great to be back here. I love doing this show. It's going to be a great one today. We got lots to talk about, so let's get introducing more people.
Absolutely. And next is our reigning late night with Take Three mini speedrun debate champion of the World Night Movie Games Network Association, the minor threat, Matthew Rosa. Matthew, how you doing?
I'm doing good. This is one of my favorite things to do in this little community that we have, and I'm looking forward to defending my belt.
All right, and making his debut, you can find him over on Around the League with Nico Suavirgoli, the Cosmic Knight Fury himself. Nico, how you doing?
Oh, joy, there are debates in this thing. Those have been kind to me the past few months. Wink, wink. No, they have not. But this is going to be a fun time. I'm excited to talk about some stand-up comics. That's something we haven't heard talked about much throughout this community, and I feel like we're in for a good discussion.
And actually, that's a great segue because the last time you and I debated, Nico, this gentleman was the host/judge. It is the hitman, Hunter Chambliss. Hunter, how are we doing, bud?
How's it going, guys? And yes, it's funny that both Brooklyn and Nico are in this debate, kind of a rematch per se. Thank you for having me on tonight. I was late. I got here kind of late, but glad I got in and ready to have some fun.
Hunter being the good guy as always and filling in on a last minute notice. I do want to let Matthew and Nico know that you are in trouble. Mom is kind of mad that you're both on here and he didn't tell her. So do expect a stern talking to on the drive home. So first off, before we get into the comics, we got to talk about kind of the big news over at Collider. On Wednesday, they had this big town hall. It was Christian, Mark Ellis. They had Mark Fernandez. Frosty was on there for a little bit. And they had Ryan, I believe is his name, from Pro Wrestling Sheet. An announcement of a bunch of different channels. Obviously, Pro Wrestling Sheet joining the fix. We got Collider Sports, Collider Games, a potential of Collider Crypto, and then the rebranding of what was SK Plus to now the Collider Podcast Network. I'm super excited for. I think there are going to be there's potential for that to grow more than what it is. There was talks on giving a lot of the audio only ones some video, so you get shows like Critically Acclaimed, Top 10 going back to a potential video. The Wangers was already video, the Meaning of was already video, and Collider Afterthought might be video now. So very interesting. Sandy, what was your big takeaway from the town hall?
Well, let me just start off by saying I love these town halls. I love that we get to peer behind the curtain and talk to and listen to what these guys have planned for us. It's all about transparency, right? And hiding things and keeping things secret. That's all kind of really cool. But I like to know that these things are coming, and I know we were talking a little bit earlier about not quite understanding it or anything like that, but after the announcement was made, I went online and actually looked at crypto a lot. So, and I'm actually really looking forward to that to the Collider Crypto channel that Mark Fernandez wants to put up there, because if you can gain any information from that whatsoever to make billions of dollars, I am down for that kind of stuff. But I think the best news was probably for me was that the podcasts would go, or some of them at least would go to video as well. I'm a visual person. I'm not much of a listener person when it comes, so I'm not a big podcast person. So I like when there's video. I like being able to see people. And the new live show, the live show coming back, but not just coming back once a week, giving it to us 3 times a week. And none of that, there might be a little bit of movie talk here and there and stuff like that, but it's mostly just going to be them shooting the shit and having games and playing and having fun. So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Yeah, the Collider Crypto, I'm still kind of skeptical, but I mean, like for me, one of my other passions is poker. The poker community has invested a lot into crypto. You got people like Doug Polk and Jay Nandez have invested a little bit of time into crypto and just kind of what to kind of look for. But yeah, Collider podcasts going to video is very interesting. As somebody who listens to Top 10 and Critically Acclaimed almost religiously, I'm very excited to see what video format can bring. I know Take Three's very own Chris Clark is going to have some work into that, giving some of those channels some new life. But Matthew Rosa, I'm going to go to you next. What was it about the town hall that stood out for you?
I think nothing excites me more than Critically Acclaimed going to video. I think Critically Acclaimed is one of the best shows on the internet right now. I think there's nothing more interesting than listening to two guys who know so much about movies talk about movies. And there's a lot of shows where guys who don't know that much about movies talk about movies, and I don't find that nearly as interesting as William Bibiani and Whitney Seibold, who are just savants at this point when it comes to film knowledge. It is an unbelievably entertaining show, and I can't wait to watch it in a video format and see as William Bibiani gets more and more excited as he talks about the movies he likes.
It's that philosophical approach that that keeps me intrigued. There's a lot of times, like especially with Whitney Seibold, I kind of initially disagree. Like if you listen to movie 43 and Monty Python, I fucking hate that movie. I think it's one of the worst movies ever. But he's like, all right, hear me out for a second. Here's why I like it. And like I kind of got an understanding as to why people can like that movie, how him and Alonzo Duralde like it. I'm still kind of perplexed, but to each their own. I'm gonna go to Hunter next. Hunter, I know you're a big sports fan, so I mean Collider Sports has to kind of tickle your fancy. Potential of John Roca and Matt Nost having a sports show. I know they talk quite a bit about NBA on the Top 10 podcast.
Oh, I love sports, but has there been an announcement of Collider Body Slam coming over to video?
I think so.
That I would absolutely love to see John Roca and all the guests from Jay Washington, all that for Collider Body Slam. That I'm a huge wrestling fan. I'm a huge Collider fan. You put those together, I am so in. I was a huge fan of the Top 10 show when they had it back on Collider. So I can't wait to see that come back in the video form. Just everything that they're doing, bringing the podcast over to video form, I feel, because I am a podcast person. I like listening to podcasts when I work out or when I'm sleeping or whatever, just whatever. And I'm also a visual person. I like watching stuff. I like watching YouTube and Collider channel. And this is just overall great for me. And Collider Sports, I'm going to be watching that like all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Before I go to Nico, people in the chat, Jonathan Peck is very excited for Collider Sports, a big football fan himself, who's kind of curious to see hear what they have to say. I know there was talks of them doing a fantasy football league with Cody Hall of all people being a commissioner. I was kind of surprised.
Yes, Cody Hall.
But Nico, what was your big takeaway from the town hall?
There were a couple things. First off, more Star Wars related content. Rule of Two, I believe is the title, between Mark Fernandez and Mark Riley. A lot of Marks working over there at Collider. That's something nobody mentions enough. But I'm excited to dive into that pool, see how that differs a little bit from Jedi Council. Obviously, Hunter mentioned Collider Body Slam and the more stuff they're doing with wrestling these days. I was listening to Collider Body Slam in its first couple weeks, and then I just fell behind on wrestling after WrestleMania season, so I'm very behind on the show Collider Body Slam, so I should probably get back into that as well. One thing that really stuck out to me, and this is weird because I'm not a horror fan, but Perry Nimroff and Haley Fouch have a new show that actually I think just released either yesterday or today.
I believe it just debuted yesterday.
And as speaking as someone who again has like the same amount of tolerance for horror as Josh McCouga, I like going to bed happy and not terrified for my life. Those are two personalities that will get me to listen to and or watch a horror-based conversation. And finally, Collider Sports, of course. Multiplex is doing some fantasy football of our own very soon, so it'll be helpful to get those updates from Cody Hall of who I should probably look to draft and who I should probably look to get rid of. Also, I'm very curious to hear their talk on MMA because, I know I'm one of the few MMA diehards of the community. Everyone else is kind of more like the scripted sports entertainment stuff. But I want to hear what these guys have to say about my favorite sport.
I would be curious to kind of see if I'm not sure, would Pro Wrestling Sheath ever kind of delve into MMA, or is anybody familiar with them at all before they join Collider?
If it has to do with, like, say, Brock Lesnar or Bobby Lashley or like Daniel Cormier, who is a big fan of pro wrestling, or Cain Velasquez, who was recently seen at the WWE Performance Center in Florida,
or like a Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. So MMA stars making the crossover or talking about making the crossover, they will probably discuss. But other stuff, with the exception of maybe Conor McGregor, I don't see a lot of. I don't think they've done much MMA discussion yet, at least.
Yeah. Because I think what's happening is that John Roca is actually joining Pro Wrestling Sheet. They're doing their stuff in Collider Studios, where as Aaron Turner and Jay Washington are kind of heading the Collider Body Slam. So there are going to be the two, and it'll be interesting to see the different perspectives and what it brings. The question that I have for you guys now is, it was brought up here a little bit. Collider Live is going up. It's going up 3 days a week, and then Movie Talk is now Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and not Friday. It also moves later in the day. It's now 7 p.m. Eastern. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Do you guys what do you guys think? I'll give my opinion quick, and I'll pass it off to somebody. I kind of think Collider Live is almost in that dead zone. Maybe I'd almost rather see it like early in the morning, like 10 p.m. But mind you, that's also probably like 7 in the morning for them. So that's kind of that's probably not idealistic for the West Coast.
Well, they're
that would be 10 a.m. for you, 10 a.m., not p.m. If it was p.m. and they were 7 a.m., there would be a very weird thing going on at the time.
Yeah, they live in Cambodia.
Pretty well. But yeah, I think maybe just for me, it's just the way times is kind of in the afternoon, but I think it works out for that West Coast crowd. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that do you guys like that Movie Talk is later? Do you like that Collider Live is now kind of a morning afternoon show?
What is Collider Live going to be? Kind of like the Schmozo Live show?
That's exactly right.
Crew.
Yeah, it's basically a rebranded version of that show.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I was kind of dropped off of Movie Talk, if I'm being honest. I just don't have time to watch it throughout the day. So, to be honest, I don't really care. It got moved back. That actually helps for me because I work a little bit later, so I can watch it live. But, yeah, I'm excited for Collider Live. I love the Schmozo live show, and just to see all the different personalities they can bring in from Collider, it's going to be so much fun to watch and see what they can do.
Yeah. Nico, Matt, Sandy, anybody?
Collider Live is definitely a show that I'm going to give a chance. I think it should be very entertaining, and if it isn't, then I'll just stop watching. But I'm pretty positive it's going to be good. And Movie Talk kind of felt very samey for me lately. It just kind of feels like there's only so much news they can rehash and re-talk about. And, there's been like 4 episodes where the thumbnail has been Venom. I'm not that interested in the Venom movie.
All right. Yeah, I think for the Collider Live, they're bringing back people like Josh McCouga. I think Ken Knapsack is back. RB3, Copster. Like, they're going to have that kind of the producer cam. Yes, Brett Sheridan is back. Over under on 55%. We see Brett to the future.
Oh, over.
Yeah.
Way over.
Oh, I just remembered who we're talking about.
Yes, Brett Sheridan.
Yeah, he's loud and sometimes drunk, so I feel like they have to have him on more than less.
Isn't he the one? For anybody who's listened to the Wangers podcast, they have I believe they often have a sound loop, and I think one of them is Disney horror. Isn't that isn't that Brett Sheridan yelling that, or could I be wrong?
I don't know. I don't watch the Wangers.
It sounds like Brett, but yeah, if anybody has a chance, Wangers is. I don't watch it. I watch it kind of like every now and then, but it is pretty interesting whenever they get on a roll. But yeah, let's get into some movie news, I guess. Unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about with the town hall.
When did so you said 3 days a week for the new Collider Live? Did they give a time at all?
1 p.m. Eastern.
1 p. Okay, so here's the thing about that time frame, and this is kind of why I dropped off from movie talk too. Is just like there are just some shows on other networks going on at that same time that I'd rather watch more, because like it's less. There's newer stuff. Like I'll listen to some political discussions during that time of day. And like, there's always something new going on every day now in terms of the world and how people are running it. That's just become more entertaining for me than hearing about Venom every day of the week, as Matt said before.
I think with the live show and with any of these shows, and Nico, you make a good point. Well, there's only 24 hours in the day, and there's not, but that's the best thing about YouTube is you don't have to watch everything the minute it posts. You can go back to it 2 hours later and watch it. It's the views that matter. As long as the views are there, as long as people are going and giving it an opportunity. And Matthew, you're 100% right. If you don't like it, if you give it a chance and you don't like it, dump it. Mm-hmm. and don't watch it. But other than the Schmodown, the show that I looked forward to the most was Thursday night for the live show. It was right in between the Schmodown, so it was something else that I had to watch. And you never know who was going to show up. You never know what was going to happen, what zany game they were going to play. I just really enjoyed it. I had a great time with it, but I almost never caught it live. And if I missed it, 9 times out of 10, I was sitting on my phone and I couldn't rewind it all the way back. So I'd have to wait until it was done and watch it the next day. So just views. That's all that matters. Views.
Yeah.
And I can say,
go ahead.
I can say, like, as Sandy just mentioned, views. That's kind of why over at Multiplex, Around the League is going through a bit of a format change from like less guests and more statistics, is because like the viewership just wasn't there. And granted, Sunday is a weird day to have that show, but yeah, if the views aren't there, you got to change some stuff up, and that's sort of why we're trying new things, and that's why Collider is doing the same.
Curse you, Nico! Now I can't ask everybody what their favorite sandwich is. I have to save that for the.
It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. I was happy doing the interviews. You guys should have watched more.
I did. I watched as much as I could.
Let me go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going off of what Sandy said about the views and stuff like that in the live show. That like the live show, Collider Live, I feel like would be something I'd be watching every week. I try to watch it live because it's not going to be the same repetitiveness, Venom stories over and over and over again. You're going to have, different games, different characters, a laid back type show you can watch. For me to be about noon my time. You can just sit down, relax, and watch all these weird characters that they have.
Yeah. I think for me, like whenever I was watching the show, I might have watched it maybe once or twice live. So I think again, it's at that accessibility. Like for me, like one of my favorite things on YouTube right now is, or actually for the last 10 years pretty well, the Philip DeFranco show. That is what I jokingly call the news. So if Sue's ever like, what the hell are you watching? Like, I'm just watching the news. That's often one that I'll watch as soon as I wake up. I'll just watch the Philip DeFranco show. And it's like, all right, what shenanigans did I miss yesterday? But yeah, for anybody who was watching the chat during Collider Town Hall, when they were announcing all these new things, everybody was kind of jokingly putting in a new thing. They're like, oh, Collider denims, like Collider late night. So I want to ask you guys if you could add a Collider channel to the family, what would you add and why?
Collider Ken, just all Ken Knapsack.
Nothing but Ken Knapsack.
Collider music.
By the way,
you went first because I was going to say Collider Sandy. I mean, you know, all Sandy all the time, 24-hour feed. I'll be like TV.
I would watch that 24/7, Sandy.
Yeah, it's like
Collider music for me, man.
Yeah, it'd just be a call in line for Sandy.
That's right.
Yeah, but yeah, Collider music I think is the next logical route. But I think Collider sandwiches. I mean, really, guys,
I knew you were going to say that.
Collider sandwich.
Or Collider food in general.
Collider Food Network.
It can be me, Jess, and Sean. We'll just we'll cook up various things, and then Sean and we'll have the everlasting debate of what sandwich is better, the Cuban or the smoked meat. The smoked meat is the correct answer for anybody who was wondering.
That's not a horrible idea, though. What if Ellis and Knapsack went around to like different places they frequent in like Woodlands or other places and had a sandwich and
Ken currently does that though. He goes to it's on the Knapsack Files on this podcast feed. He goes to a certain restaurant and like he brings a different guest. I think his first one was like Lon Harris, but then he brought Josh McCouga. But they go to I know it's one restaurant down in the States and they Nico.
I feel like the first episode of that show would just be them hanging out at 7-Eleven. So much of their banter is based on 7-Eleven that I feel like that has to be the first place they would go.
Yeah.
For me, it would probably be Collider MMA. I want to see what they're, going through the different cards, maybe their favorite matches or their favorite fights, favorite moments, stuff like that.
See, here's the thing with that, and I kind of wish I could agree with you on that, but here's the thing. What Culture also has their own MMA channel, and I rarely see any uploads from them. And that's because like there's only like one MMA card, a major MMA card a month that you can really pay attention to. The rest are on Fox Sports, and like it's hard to keep track of everything, all those injury reports. So I feel like MMA can carry those enough as it is. So as much as I would want that channel, I don't feel like it would sustain enough viewership.
It'd be a good branch to go under Collider Sports. Like I think it is one that maybe it's like, say it's like the third Sunday in every month, where it's like, all right, guys, we're gonna cover this card or whatever. So I think that'd be a good aspect of Collider Sports, in my opinion.
Another one I would probably have would be like maybe under the Collider Body Slam, if it ever becomes a video, have a section for indie wrestling.
I think they're doing something along those lines.
That's awesome.
I've heard some whispers, and I think that's in the talks, but correct. But I could very easily be wrong.
Incredible.
I know it's something. I think Aaron Turner's talked about it publicly about talking more about the indie scene. Because I know, because especially where he lives in Orlando, he's right in that hub of the indie scene, like especially like with NXT being so close.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, guys. So let's get into the movie news portion of our show. I believe it's Hollywood happenings. Man, we've missed a lot of news in these last 3 weeks.
We missed Comic-Con.
We missed Comic-Con. But I'll run through some quick news, and we'll kind of, if there's anything you guys want to add, especially anybody in the chat, if there's anything you want to talk about, by all means, let us know. So we have the Venom trailer, the Shazam trailer, the Aquaman trailer, the Halloween trailer, Wonder Woman 84 footage, James Gunn getting the boost from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I call that shenanigans. Mark Hamill set to appear in Star Wars Episode 9. 3-hour conversation like it always is. James Franco directing an ESPN movie. Movie Pass shitting the bed. Andy Serkis's Mowgli moving to Netflix. I think that's kind of interesting. And then my personal favorite is Andy Serkis and Matt Reeves set to do a performance capture of Animal Farm, one of my favorite books. So I'll go to Nico first. Nico, what stood out to you for movie news these last few weeks?
Well, for me, it's the James Gunn getting removed from Guardians 3, and The reason why is because the person who got James Gunn removed, I've heard his name on more than one occasion. Mike Sarinovich, I believe, is his name, and he has tried on numerous occasions to get certain maybe politically left-leaning personalities ousted from their jobs. He almost got Sam Cedar fired from his MSNBC gig and tried to get him removed from his association with the Young Turks as well, because of he was making jokes about Woody Allen and his pedophilia accusations several years ago. Thankfully, he failed at that, but unfortunately, he succeeded in this case with James Gunn. And Disney, they try to be sort of progressive in the eyes of the public, but really they're still a business. They still have certain conservative values that they feel like they have to uphold in the public eye, and they made a business decision that the cast obviously does not agree with.
It's like, to kind of give my 2 cents very quick, it's the public opinion, I think, that addressed the kind of that brought it to the forefront, I guess, of Disney. They're a family oriented company. They're also a business. So as much as I think it's absolutely, pardon my French, as much as I think it's absolutely fucking ridiculous that they did know about this beforehand. But yeah, Sandy, what was the news that stood out for you this week?
All right, so I just have 2 things that I'll bring up. The first one is I'll just touch on the James Gunn thing because I think that I'm probably in the minority of the group here. I think the firing was justified. I don't like how it happened because Nico knows this. I'm a liberal. This is who I am. I've always been that way. I positively post on Nico's posts that he puts on there all the time about what's going on politically in our world. In this case, my only reaction is, if you don't want it to come back and bite you in the ass, don't put it out there in the first place. And what he said, the stuff that he tweeted about way back then, was bullshit way back then. He shouldn't have said anything about it back then, and he shouldn't have said anything about it now. And if he didn't want it out there, he should have had it removed or taken down. Just because some political person went out there looking for it, it was there, and he said it. So he's that guilty. The Guardians of the Galaxy cast, I love them. They're great. Stop it. You did something wrong. You got the punishment is appropriate. Now you go back to the end of the line. You work your reputation back up. That's as far as I'm concerned with that one. Everybody has their opinion. I respect everybody, but that's mine. The only other thing out of it didn't even happen. Well, real quick, 2 things. I love the Aquaman trailer. I know a lot of people are giving it a lot of grief. My only concern is that if this movie comes out and the special effects are on par with how the special effects of Justice League were, then they need to go and they need to go and kiss ILM's ass and have ILM start working for DC to get some better special effects in there. But I'm hoping, cross fingers for good things. I think it looked great. I'm hoping that it's going to be a great movie. I was disappointed with the Shazam trailer. I didn't like how jokey it was. I didn't like how campy it was. I wanted it to be more, wow, I'm this kid that's got awesome powers, and then the bad guy comes in and pounds on him. I'm hoping for that in the next trailer. So I'm reserving justice. And you guys have been talking a lot of crap about the Venom trailer and seeing the Venom trailer. I am after this trailer, I'm even more stoked about this movie than I was for the first trailer. I love the duality of the voice of Venom. I love how it doesn't quite sound right, and you have to listen to it a little bit more. There's 2 people in there talking, guys. Get right here. It's there. Come on. It's a duality. You got it. That voice modulation is on purpose. The special effects for when we see the Venom symbiote standing over that guy, dude, looks dope, man. It looks good. So I have high hopes for it. So I'm looking forward to it. So
yeah, I agree with Sandy. Exponentially, the dual voice is fucking unreal. It reminds me of Megatron, but not as cheesy.
Not as
cheesy.
Yeah.
But I think it'll work out well. I think I know that Riot is the supposed bad guy. But I have a kind of tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that I think anti-Venom is going to be is going to be in the movie based on some kind of some weird speculation.
Might be too soon for that.
Another trailer that I could actually, there's two trailers I forgot about. One of them, Jessica Morgan will not stop reminding me about it, is that Godzilla trailer, which I have not seen yet. But my favorite trailer of Comic-Con was Glass. That Glass trailer looked fucking dope. I haven't seen either movie, and I'm like, all right, I need to go watch both of these movies now so that I can verse myself to Glass. Matt Rosa, what movie news stood out for you these last few weeks?
So everybody looking forward to Mark Hamill Force Ghost. Everybody's treating that like it's a story. I think it's pretty obvious how we're going to see Mark Hamill in the next film.
Sorry, 1 second here. Do I need to put up my sign?
What? Do you have a spoiler alert sign?
No. If anybody remembered 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think it was whenever we had Matt Kearns, Chris Clark, and somebody else on, we got into like a half-hour discussion of Star Wars, and I literally just put up the Welcome to the Star Wars debate show.
Nah, I'm just going to let it fly. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. We're going to move on. It's just, perfect. I don't think it's going to be anything more than a Force Ghost. That's my personal opinion. I loved the Shazam trailer. I thought it was the best thing that came out of Comic-Con. I thought I'm very much interested in seeing how that movie goes, because I feel like if they had done a straight portrayal of Shazam, I had no interest in seeing that movie. When it got announced, I was very uninterested. And when I saw that trailer, I went, oh, this might be funny. And one thing that wasn't on the list, but I do want to recommend, Teen Titans Go to the Movies. If you have not seen it, you need to see it. It is one of the best animated movies I've ever seen, and I hate that show. But that movie was undoubtedly fantastic.
Nice.
You need to go see that movie.
I've only seen a few episodes of Teen Titans Go, but I did like the 3 episodes that I saw. I think there's a lot of wit in their writings, very reminiscent of The Simpsons. I found. I am super stoked to see the movie. I don't know when I don't know when I'll see it. Maybe tomorrow night. I'm not sure. But yeah, Teen Titans Go, I think, is a big C. Pardon me. Got a frog in my
Don't down
throat.
us, Brooklyn.
I'll try not to. Hunter, what was the news that stood out for you this week?
Well, of course, the James Gunn is the big story. I'm not going to get into that. Me and Chance actually talk about it on our interview. You can hear my side of the story there. But another one is the trailers from Comic-Con. DC killed all their trailers that they showed down there, with the exception of one, which I kind of liked, which was the Titan trailers. I didn't mind that trailer, but I get why people hate it. But Shazam trailer was epic. I am super excited to see Zachary Levi as Shazam. Some of the jokes in there were so funny, like the one where his stepbrother is like, it gets really Game of Thrones in here. And just all that dialogue scene was so funny. Zachary Levi is the perfect Shazam. You could tell that he is really he's enjoying playing this role of a kid in a superhero adult body, which I just can't wait to see that. The Aquaman trailer was epic. Atlantis looked so good. The CG for Atlantis was incredible. I love the Godzilla trailer so much. The Titans, and then all hell, the King, baby. That was so epic. Just a lot of the trailers from Comic-Con were just really, really, really good. I'm on the Teen Titans Go to the movies. I don't like Teen Titans Go. I just don't. But the trailers have really sold me on it. So I'm definitely going to give it a chance. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All the trailers from Comic-Con I enjoyed. The Glass trailer, I love Unbreakable. I love Split. Glass just looks so good. I'm super excited for Glass to come out.
And I just want to say that one thing that did fall under the radar from Comic-Con is that Marvel's Cloak and Dagger over on Freeform is getting a season 2, and that show just finished up its season 1 last night. Seriously, go watch it. It is probably some of the best work Marvel has put in terms of television, which is crazy because when a lot of people saw that first trailer, like maybe a year or so ago, they were thinking like, oh, this is going to be a terrible teen drama. And while there is teen drama in it, it's really good. Like, it's some of the best writing-based work Marvel has done so far on TV.
I agree. It's criminally underrated, so go watch it.
The sort of discussion point I wanna kind of bring up is is Andy Serkis's Mowgli being moved to Netflix, and I think it was kind of a smart move in this instance because of Jon Favreau's success with the Jungle Book Disney. So my question to you guys is moving to Netflix better or worse for your movie? Anybody who wants to open up a discussion?
I'll start. It really depends on the movie, I think. I mean, if it's kind of a low budget or medium budget movie that you feel like it's going to do good, but might not have the theater prowess, you put it on Netflix, see how it does, and you can always get a theater like a week or two release later on in theaters if you really think about that. Going straight to Netflix isn't like going straight to DVD. Netflix has been killing it with their original movies, their original series. Netflix is a big power player, and I feel like, you know, especially with Martin Scorsese's The Irishman, I believe, coming out on Netflix, you know, big name directors are going over to Netflix because Netflix gives freedom to their directors and to their writers to go for it.
One of my favorite movies in the past couple of years was The Fundamentals of Caring, which was a Netflix release starring Paul Rudd and Selena Gomez. And like that movie feels like it belongs on Netflix, but it's not hindered by the fact that it's on Netflix. It feels elevated in its own way because, oh, you have to have this exclusive streaming service to watch this really good movie. In terms of like Andy Serkis, just because of the fact that he was doing a movie based on a property that Disney already tackled in theaters and knocked out of the park, scoring a grand slam, it's a smart move on his part. Yeah. Now, then there's also like movies such as Bright with Will Smith living in that, being a cop in that mystical world. I didn't actually see the movie. I just know that it didn't get the best of reviews, the best of attention. So hit or miss. It's hit or miss.
I think Netflix's biggest bomb as of recently was the Cloverfield Paradox. I watched that for about half an hour, and Sue and I both looked at each other and said, "Nope, next movie." Matthew, I know you had your hand up there earlier.
See, what I was going to say is I feel like this is a similar situation to the Cloverfield Paradox. I feel like they thought that it wasn't going to be a box office smash, and so they went, signed a deal with Netflix, got a bunch of money up front, and there you go. Put it on the streaming service.
I do feel like Mowgli's going to be a great movie, though.
Yeah, the one thing the one thing I liked about Cloverfield Paradox in general was their marketing campaign. I wish the movie matched marketing campaign because it was right around the time of the Super Bowl. They had a bunch of commercials and they're like, "Hey, want to watch this movie?" Yeah, it's on right after the Super Bowl, like one of the biggest events in the world. Sandy, I know you've kind of been sitting there quiet. What are your thoughts on the Netflix yay or nay?
Well, I mean, let's be realistic. Streaming services are what's happening. That's like, you know, you've got Amazon Prime, you've got Hulu, you've got Netflix, you've got all kinds of different streaming services that are out there. Disney's going to have their own one. DC's going to have their own one. CBS All Access is out there. YouTube has got their premium version, of their stuff. It's not stupid. This is a good move for him, especially considering that we just had the Jungle Book come out. And let's be totally honest, there aren't a lot of movies that are going to compete visually with the Jungle Book, no matter what. So if you can move her to Netflix and garner an audience that's going to be there, look at Annihilation. That they went that route there and put Annihilation on there. I've watched it. I didn't particularly like it, but it was there. And you could go and see it when there was, when it wasn't in movie theaters. Nico brought up Bright. I did watch Bright. I liked it. I thought it got a lot of grief for nothing. I think a lot of people just have something against Will Smith, but Joel Edgerton as the troll partner.
I think more people have something against Max Landis.
Maybe, yeah. But I liked it. I thought it was good. I think the more. I mean, listen, I pay $10 a month for my Netflix membership. I want it to have more on there. Like, you think that if a movie came out called Orange is the New Black, that we'd be talking about it right now? Nope.
Just a second, guys. Molly has some hot takes that she wants to address. So, somebody stall for a couple minutes while I go listen to her hot takes.
All right.
Molly, I'm sorry. Okay, Luke isn't dead. I'm sorry.
All right, I'll start. Well, I'll start with Nico on this one. Nico, what do you think is the best Netflix, either original movie or original TV show? And I'll put that to everybody.
Ooh, that's a hard one. Again, I gave a lot of love to the fundamentals of caring. For Netflix, I'll give you two options: one an adult show, one a kids show. The adult one, season 2 is rocky, but Jessica Jones, I feel like, is a tremendous show on Netflix. I feel like it's above season 1 of that show is above both seasons of Daredevil, which that's my hot take right there for you. Yeah, it's up there, and Punisher is tied with it. In terms of the kids show, it would have to be, I love my How to Train Your Dragon, so I'm going to go with DreamWorks Dragons Race to the Edge. Nice. It is a series that spun off from the series that How to Train Your Dragon was doing on Cartoon Network. They moved over to Netflix, and it's really filled in the gaps as to what was going on between the first movie and the second movie. It's built so much lore, and you get to watch the characters grow up with you. And as the third movie is set to come out next spring, this show has really set up the franchise to be to go down in history as one of the greatest family-friendly franchises of all time.
It's a great franchise. All right, real quick, Matthew, what's your favorite show on Netflix?
I've been waiting for you to ask me. All right. Okay, my favorite show that has ever been on Netflix is With Bob and David, which was a 6-episode run. Yeah. It is the long-awaited 5th season of Mr. Show, and it has got every single original cast member except for Jack Black, and it is unbelievably amazing. There's only 6 episodes. They said they might do more one day, but they'd have to get all the schedules to match up. But those 6 episodes, you can finish it in an afternoon, and you will literally laugh so hard, your gut will hurt for the rest of the day. And so that's my recommendation when it comes to Netflix. With Bob and David was the best thing they ever greenlit.
All right, Hunter, real quick, what do you got?
Mine are gonna be a little weird. I'm a huge anime fan, so I got 2. One's an anime, one's a not for series, and one for a movie.
All right, Agresco, got it.
Is Castlevania.
Nice.
Castlevania is so good. I can't wait for season 2. Perfect animation, just all around perfect. The other show that I'm watching right now that I really love because I'm a huge fan of the books is a series of unfortunate events with Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf. So funny, follows the book so well, creepy. I love this show. Now, my movie's a strange one because I watched this one night and I was like, yeah, I'll check it out. I haven't heard that good things about it, but I really enjoyed it. It's The Babysitter, directed by McG.
Okay.
The Babysitter it's just a movie I sit down and watch when I want to be entertained. So fun, so funny. This cult, there's a lot of violence. It's all around a good time. That's what I want from Netflix. I want good, just entertaining movies.
Nice. Well, I might as well complete it while we're doing this one. Brooklyn, favorite show on Netflix?
Okay, so my favorite show, or my favorite season, I guess, is Daredevil season 1. But the show that is criminally underrated that nobody watches, I guess, in my circle, go watch Chef's Table, please. People, go watch Chef's Table. It has cinematography that is reminiscent of Planet Earth, just breathtaking shots of food, and the backstory of these chefs and what they have gone through to get to where they are. If I can recommend one episode, go watch season 2, episode 1. It is a It is an episode about Grant Achatz, the chef owner of Alinea in Chicago, super modern cuisine restaurants, and he gets tongue cancer throughout his during the middle of his career, so he has to relearn how to taste. An incredible story, nonetheless. But BoJack Horseman is another super fun one. Love BoJack Horseman. And what I've been actually watching recently is Sugar Rush. If anybody,
Sugar Rush is really good.
Sugar Rush is super interesting. As a pastry chef myself, very interesting to see what kind of concoctions that they come up with. But yeah, that's kind of been my jam. There is one more piece of movie news. I know John has been kind of pestering me to talk about it. Is Todd Phillips' Joker movie, the recent with Joaquin Phoenix and I know Rob De Niro was set to be in that movie, and
Mark Maron.
Zendaya? Yeah, is that her name?
Zendaya? Is she supposed to be in that?
She was in Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes, Zendaya. Yeah. Okay, Zendaya.
So yeah. So what do you? So I guess the big thing is, what are your thoughts on? No. Yes, Molly. I know Joaquin Phoenix is a great choice for the Joker. You do not need to tell the world. What? Don't tell me.
I know. I don't want Mark Maron in that movie either. I understand.
Okay.
I feel it.
Brooklyn, you told her that eventually you'd have Cal the Schmodog dog on, and Molly could wait forever, and you haven't pulled through on that one. I'd get on Chris about that.
I'll do what I can here. But yeah, you guys' thoughts on Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker?
I'll start. I'm probably the only one who likes this choice, so I'm excited for it. Joaquin Phoenix is a great actor, and he's a character actor. He's going to bring so much to the Joker that I feel that the Joker needs kind of this character actor that's not going to go over the top like Jared Leto did, but can become the character of the Joker, and I'm super excited for this. The movie I'm iffy on because I'm not sure what it's going to be about, but I'm always been super excited for Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker.
I think like my kind of potential conspiracy theory is that if with the cast of Joaquin Phoenix, I think they might do the I think it was covered in Red Hood where he falls into the acid bath potentially. They kind of explore him having a family and whatnot. But Matthew, Nico, Sandy, your thoughts on Joaquin?
Yeah. I think Joaquin Phoenix is a great choice for the Joker. My only problem is that it has, to my knowledge, it has nothing to do with Worlds of DC because we have Jared Leto as that Joker.
Yeah, it's going to be separate.
Yeah, I have a big problem with us having two different Jokers coexisting. I
don't mind it. I mean, that's what the comics.
For me, it feels weird. Yeah, I mean, if they very explicitly did very different versions of the Joker, but I don't feel like that's the case. I think they're still going to be attacking basically mainline Joker, and we'll see what happens. But I heard about Mark Maron being in that movie, and that he seems like a strange choice, especially if it's supposed to be a serious Joker movie. But it could work. It's just not looking like it's going to. But neither did the Teen Titans Go movie, so who knows?
Let me say something real quick. Sorry. I feel like this could work with two separate Jokers because I'm tired of everything being connected to a cinematic universe. So if you have your cinematic universe over here but want to do one-off stories, I
call bullshit. I call bullshit right now. Sorry, Hunter. You're my boy.
Shenanigans has been called. Get the brooms out. Shenanigans has been called.
You're tired of movies like Infinity War. You're tired of movies like that. Because if you're saying that you're tired of connected universes, you're pretty much saying that you're never going to go see another MCU movie out there because the entire threat.
What I'm saying is I'm tired of every company having to have a cinematic universe. Every single movie company is like, we got to have a cinematic universe for this and that. I'm kind of glad that DC is stepping back and still having a universe, but having one-offs that they can do whenever they want and have that stand alone.
I just want to let you guys know, Molly is literally taken back by what Sandy just said that Hunter will not be seeing Infinity War.
Maybe I didn't clear it up enough, but that's what I meant. Other studios pretty much forcing the cinematic universe going around.
From what Jonathan Peck is saying, I guess it's going to be in the 80s. We said in the 80s, reminiscent of the King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. So I'm not sure what storylines are kind of set in that kind of that atmosphere. I guess would be the best way to describe it. But yeah, unless Nico has something. Oh, sorry.
I'll go last. Go ahead, Nico.
So, sort of clarify what Hunter is saying. DC has done the universe aspect so badly that they're now trying a multiverse sort of thing going on, and they're trying to make the most of that. So if you look at it from that perspective, I think you can get behind what Hunter is going at, which is let's try something out, have a multiverse instead of one connected thing, but still we can connect them whenever we want to if we find the right story for them. But for me, this movie has not really been on my radar, and the only thing that's right now currently driving me to want to go see it is the fact that Mark Maron is somehow involved. By the way, going back to the Netflix discussion, Glow, also one of the
incredible.
Glow is also a great show on Netflix that you guys should go watch once you're done with watching us, of course. But as for everything else going on in the movie, I really don't care. They gotta do a little bit more to bring me in, because right now these discussions of who might be involved and who isn't involved is not enough at the moment.
Yeah, Sandy.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I'm not. I respect. I respect Joaquin Phoenix's talent as an actor. He's a bit too wackadoodle for me. He's sort of, got a reputation for being a little bit out there. And
you didn't like her?
I'm okay with that, but I wouldn't mind this movie if it was like a prequel to the Joker. Like if they called it, if they called it like Jokeable or Jokers or
Jokeable,
whatever and stuff like that. But the character himself was his actual person before, and the last thing that we see is him falling into the vat and turning into the Joker that we know. But if it's a crime movie, about the underworld crime in Gotham, and we see the Joker as a regular human being and not that nutcase, I think it could work, especially if you're going to bring De Niro in too. I think that could fit in something like De Niro could be the old aging crime boss, and the Jack Napier, if we're going to use a name, or Joe Chill or whatever you want to use for his name. He comes in to, supplant the new boss and to be the to be the new crime lord. That would interest me, a bit more than another Joker. I definitely don't think that now, I wasn't the biggest fan of Jared Leto's Joker either. But I think that if you're going to be a successful comic book producing company, that you need to have the connective tissue between the movies. Like look at even Sony, who is like Disney's arch enemy, when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Even they're like in association with Marvel Entertainment because they want their movies to be associated with the MCU because it all connects and it all fits and it makes people want to go and see it because it's part of the story. And as much as I do appreciate things like the Star Wars universe that does one-offs here and one-offs there, I don't want to see that with comic books, because then you're, like exactly like you guys were saying, then you're getting into like a multiverse thing. And if you think people are confused with, just like regular shuffling around of people and stuff like that, wait till you throw the multiverse at them. They're going to be gone. So you're always, Hunter, you're always going to get the fans. You're always going to get that 200 million of the fans that are going to go. But longevity means that people are invested in the characters. And that's why I'm glad that they're going back to the Aquaman movie with the same Aquaman. I want to see Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill. I want to see Batman, and I want to see it with I want to see a standalone Batman with Ben Affleck, and whether or not they just cameo him at the beginning, then go back into the past, and we see a young Year One Bruce Wayne come up. That's fine too. They brought that up sort of on Movie Talk. I think we've already had Year One done with Nolan's Batman, so I don't think we have to go back. I'd like to see Ben Affleck come back and maybe do, the Dark Knight Returns, like do a Frank Miller type of deal, and an aging Batman who needs to hang the cowl up, but he doesn't know how. So go and watch the Dark Knight, or not the Dark Knight, but Batman, the Dark Knight Rises, the book, not the.
Yeah, we got you, Sandy.
Yeah, that's my that's my take on the Joker thing. If they do it as a crime movie before the makeup and the face and the smile and the psychoticness, well, I mean, keep him psycho, but more of a human thing.
That's where I think they're going with this too. I think they're going to do it where it's going to be a crime mob movie, but at the end, maybe he does get knocked into the vac, and that's where it ends. Maybe you could tie it in like that. That way, he's not the crazy Joker, but you know what's happening next.
Well, and you guys basically want the Smallville of Joker movies, where it ends with him becoming the Joker, much like how Smallville ended with him ripping the shirt off.
Great analogy. Great analogy. I still go back and watch that last 15 minutes of that the 10th season of Smallville every couple of weeks because I love it.
Smallville's such a great show.
So good.
I just want to bring up one last question here before we move on. What are the chances that this movie actually gets made?
None.
Because
I think it's gonna get made.
Better chances than The Crow, but worse chances than Aquaman.
I'll throw it a 30%.
I'll probably push it up to maybe 40 to 50% chance it gets made.
I'm gonna say 15.
In the past 3 years, how many movies has involving DC comic characters has Warner Brothers, which is now owned by AT&T? I should probably mention that.
I might be off by about 5 or 10, but I think 47 million, around that ballpark.
Yeah, I think you're in the right ballpark there. Yeah. They've announced probably like 47 million. Maybe
Gotham Sirens, Nightwing.
The list is endless.
Bat Family, Batwoman, Batgirl, Batshark Repellent.
Batshark Repellent, yes.
Joker movie.
Utility Belt, the movie.
Adam West Batman.
Yes.
Molly, did you have any thoughts on Joaquin Phoenix being the Joker? Good. That's what I love to hear. All right, so let's get right into the next topic. If you guys see the thumbnail, you guys are probably aware of it already. Stand-up comics is going to be our big discussion today. So I want to go to Sandy first because I know usually Sandy is kind of the last one in previous shows, and he's like, "God damn it, you guys are talking about my favorite ones." So Sandy, I want to go to you first. What are some of your favorite stand-up comics, and like what are the ones you kind of thrive to?
Okay, so I made a list of 6 comics that I love that I will watch repeatedly, but I'll spend 0 time talking about 5 of them, and only one and only all my time on one. So the honorable mentions that I'll mention is if you haven't seen Eddie Murphy's Delirious or Raw, and you are absolutely crushing your own soul because they are so fantastic. They're some of the funniest things ever put onto celluloid. They are fantastic. George Carlin is probably, I would consider, the godfather of all comic and stand-up. I miss seeing George Carlin. He came to Calgary. I didn't get a ticket because his publicist had sent that they were coming back, and 3 weeks later he passed away. So I'm absolutely crushed that I didn't get to see him live. Russell Peters, good old Canadian boy from Ontario. The dude was straight up killing it for years. He's so funny. He is so he's got such a good handle on his heritage and the jokes that he tells from it. So he's absolutely on my list. Robin Williams, very, very, very underrated stand-up comic. The dude,
Live at the Met is one of my favorite
Live
specials
at the
ever.
Met is absolutely must-see watching for any person that wants to be a comedian, wants to think comedically, wants to help with their jokes and learn about timing. Absolute genius in the working there. But my number one pick for stand-up comedians is somebody that I've been watching for years from his YouTube videos. He started putting them out on YouTube, and that is Jeff Dunham. And if you guys do not know Jeff Dunham, he's
Jeff Dunham.
Dunham. That's right. If you get this panel obviously knows they're Jeff Dunham, but if you have not watched Jeff Dunham, he is a ventriloquist and he is the best in the world at it. He has multiple characters. He does an hour-plus stage show. He has multiple HBO and Comedy Network specials. The dude is straight up fantastic. I used to think ventriloquism was kind of meh and kind of goofy and whatever. This dude took it to another level. The characters that he has are so awesome. They are so good. Peanut is hilarious. It goes on his face. Ahmed, the dead terrorist. Come on, seriously. I mean, the dude. They watch the Christmas. You want to see the best. It was funny on your absolute last on your ground laughing. Go and download or go and buy the Jeff Dunham very special Christmas special.
Yes.
With him and Guitar Guy and the scoliosis joke. I swear to God, if you are not on the ground laughing your head off, you're not a human. you're just not. It's not possible because I fall down laughing every time I watch Hayner. That's the Guitar Guy. Every time I watch him start just busting out laughing because Jeff is trying to make him laugh, I am laughing my head off. So Jeff Dunham is my favorite comedian of all times, and throw it out to you guys.
Yeah. We'll go to Matthew first, or Matthew next.
All right, well, I guess according to Sandy, I'm not human because I have never enjoyed a Jeff Dunham special, and I've seen them all. Yeah, sorry, guys.
Oh, you're breaking my heart, partner.
Breaking my heart.
So I very similarly to Sandy made some honorable mentions, and then I have one comedian that I'm going to talk about. Not a lot of people know this about me, but 2 years running, I was the top-ranked under-18 stand-up comedian in the state of Tennessee.
Nice.
So stand-up comedy has been a big part of my life. I actually used to do a lot of stand-up. I kind of faded out last year. I didn't enter into any tournaments. I used to, but I don't really anymore. So I'm going to talk about some of the comedians that inspired me to start telling jokes. The first stand-up special I ever saw was Delirious, Eddie Murphy, and that was what got me hooked. I adore Aziz Ansari, despite his questionable, you can debate whatever he did all you want, but as a stand-up comedian, I think he's one of the best ones working today. Mike Birbiglia was the first stand-up set I ever saw live, was Thank God for Jokes, and it was an amazing show. Mike Birbiglia has a hilarious sense of dry humor that he really captures very well. If you need to see a good Mike Birbiglia special, go with My Secret Private Journal. Just an amazing special where he tells stories from his life. And Bo Burnham is definitely a big shout out to Bo Burnham, which is where I thought Sandy was going when he said that he got a start on YouTube. I went, oh, okay, Sandy's going to go with Bo Burnham. And then I heard Jeff Dunham and I went, are we picking Larry the Cable Guy out here? Okay, anyway. David Cross is my last honorable mention. Highly underrated stand-up. He's well-loved as an actor, but an amazing stand-up. But the stand-up comedian who means more to me than any other stand-up comedian is Mr. John Mulaney. There is no stand-up I love more than John Mulaney. I can recite every John Mulaney special word for word.
Matthew Rosa, you are now my best friend in the whole wide world. John Mulaney is my favorite stand-up comic ever. Love John Mulaney.
I don't think that anyone has better done stand-up than John Mulaney. I can go back and listen to any special he's done 1,000 times and find a new thing to laugh at every time.
What's the
I am
first
gay.
one?
I have AIDS. And I'm new in town.
So we played What's New Pussycat 21 times in a row. But what made my friend, after 7 times of playing What's New Pussycat, threw in one.
Wait, John, wait.
Yeah.
And he put in one.
It's not unusual.
For years, scientists have tried to discover if it's not unusual, can make grown men cry. The answer is yes, but only after 7 What's New Pussycats in a row.
And that made the evening from good to great.
There was this guy who looked like he had just earned his 30-day chip.
God damn it! One of my favorite lines is the one from, I think it's live at Radio City Hall, because if you're familiar with John Mulaney, he was born and raised Catholic, so that resonates with me quite a lot. So he's like, so I went to church for the first time in a while, and I guess they decided to change things up on me. I was batting 400, saying all the things, and the priest says, "Peace be with you," and I said, and also with you, and then everybody's like, "And with your spirit," and then he's like, "Well, what the fuck, guys?"
What? Such an amazing stand-up.
Yeah. Hunter. Oh man.
All right. After that, I'm not sure if I'm going to win over Brooklyn like Matt did. Probably not, but
no,
I've got 3 honorable mentions. I'm going to start with one is Chris Tucker's live special on Netflix. Was so fucking funny. Chris Tucker is so high energy, and his comedy is on point. See that on stage? The dude turns it up and puts on a great show. Another one, I've been a fan of this guy from his music to his movies to even Community. Donald Glover's Weirdo.
Oh, great special.
So
wish he'd do another one.
Funny. He should do another one, yes. It's hilarious. So funny. My favorite comedian is Fluffy himself, Gabriel Iglesias.
All right, guys. See ya. I'm out of here.
Great. We made Matt Rosen rage quiz.
I don't care.
Jeff Dunham and Gabriel Iglesias in the same breath as John Mulaney is a crime.
Iglesias. The dude is so funny. I go back and listen to the racist gift basket joke and laugh myself fucking sick. The dude is high energy. The dude knows how to work a crowd. He is so funny, and just the stories that he tells, he knows what to do. And I forgot to mention one in my mentions, Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is such a great stand-up comedian because he's, again, full of energy, knows how to work a crowd, and knows what stories to tell. And that's what makes a good comedian, is that he can tell a story. Same with Gabriel Iglesias. He can tell a story and have you laugh and stick through the entire show.
Nico, what are some of your favorite stand-up comics?
Okay, so just to piggyback off of Matt's, John Mulaney is my sister's favorite comedian of all time as well. So yeah, you both have good taste because he is hilarious. I didn't really have any honorable mentions versus an actual list. I'll just give you a couple names. A lot of the comedians that I like, I was introduced to through the show At Midnight, which a lot of people remember from Comedy Central.
Great show.
And if you can make it an improv, which is basically the premise of that show, is improv for points that don't actually matter.
Bunch of UCB guys on that show. They're almost all from Upright Citizens.
Yeah, but if you can make it in improv, you can make it in comedy for life. And guys like Ron Funches, who won At Midnight probably more than anyone else, he was a beast. Doug Benson, Nikki Glazer, those two are also some of the best that show has ever had. Chris D'Elia, who a lot of people will remember from NBC's Undateable. He's really funny. He roasted Justin Bieber. Hopefully that's not the lone thing in his career he will be remembered for, because he is very funny. Also, if anyone ever listened to any of the podcasts on the Nerdist Network, you might go back and listen to Competitive Erotic Fan Fiction with Brian Cook. And again, that's just testing more people's improv skills. Guys like Moshe Kasher, Ian Carmel. Joseph Scrimshaw was on an episode at one point of that show, of that podcast. So just, I really enjoy a lot of improv, guys. And just two stories. The last comedy, the last stand-up comedy thing I went to was in California at the famous Comedy Store, I believe. And I got roasted by Bobby Lee, who a lot of people will remember from Mad TV.
Ooh. Do go on. Why were you roasted?
So he was making a joke about Thai women and how they can peel mangoes with their feet. So I just randomly said out loud, "I like mangoes," and he just burst out laughing and insulted me, saying, "That is the stupidest thing I have ever heard in my entire life." And from then on, I was just like kind of like throw these little feelers out there for the other comedians to kind of go after me for. Only a few of them actually bit, but it was worth it. It was a good night.
My favorites have kind of already been mentioned. Eddie Murphy, George Carlin. I think Jammin' in New York is one of my favorite stand-up specials. Robin Williams live at the Mess. Daniel Tosh is one of my favorite. I'm a big fan of shock humor, and I think he hits it on fucking point. Another Canadian guy, Derek Edwards. If you've ever heard him at all, he sounds like he's crying whenever he's giving his routines, and it's just so amazing to listen to and watch. Steve Patterson, if anybody listens to the great, actually, Sandy, do you listen to the debaters at all on CBC Radio? Yeah, Steve Patterson, I think is a great one. I did watch one of their live tapings. Ron James, if anybody, I doubt if anybody's familiar with Ron James, but he's from Cape Breton, but he tours a lot in Canada. But he has a very Islander humor, which I find absolutely fucking hilarious. Who else did I want to mention? Aziz Ansari, John Mulaney was already mentioned. Daniel Tosh. Oh, Jim Jeffries is one that I have grown to.
How did I forget?
Grown to recent. I wasn't a huge fan of him at first. But then I kind of grew on him. I watched his performance in general and how he's able to kind of switch tones at like a flick of a switch, and how it's so effective in his performance. And again,
his joke about his wife making him think that he gave his kid autism is the greatest.
It is
such a good bit.
It is pretty hilarious. But we are now going to get into our debate portion of the round. I am going to. Right now I have the four playing card suits. For anybody who doesn't know, hearts, diamonds, spades, and clubs. I want you guys to pick a suit, and then those suits are paired up together. So Nico, since you went you first, pick a suit.
Give me clubs.
Okay. We'll go to Hunter next.
Give me hearts.
Okay. Matthew Rosa.
I gotta go with Motorhead. Ace of Spades!
Ace of Spades. And then Sandy, that leaves you with diamonds.
See what happens when you leave me last again? Matthew takes my title and then takes my Ace of Spades, and I was actually going to use the Motorhead thing.
All right, so your pairings, guys, are as follows. We have a Hunter going up against Matt Rosa, which means Nico is going up against Sandy.
We've already done this, Matt.
Just before we start the debates, I just have one more honorable mention to mention, and it's another Canadian boy, and it's unfortunately it's Mike McDonald. If you've never seen his stand-up,
yes,
go and watch it. It's all over YouTube, all the stuff. He died just recently this year in March from heart for cardiovascular disease. So as we've just said goodbye to John Schnepp, another person who had heart issues please, everybody out there, take care of your hearts. Go get checked out.
Can I shoot one more to a deceased stand-up? If you enjoy Parks and Recreation, the guy who pretty much made all the jokes you laughed at, Harris Whittles, was a fantastic stand-up, and you can find his stuff on YouTube. Nice. And he passed away a few years ago from a heroin overdose. Oh. He was a lovely man, and he was super kind, super nice, and one of the best podcasts you'll ever hear is called Analyze Fish. It's him and Scott Aukerman. Scott Aukerman hates fish. Harris Whittles loves it, and it is, if there was a Pulitzer Prize in podcasting, they would have won it.
Okay, I just checked, and because there are like a million Mike McDonald's, I wanted to be sure who you were thinking of. So I can say at least it wasn't the guy from Mad TV, Mike McDonald. That's the Mike McDonald I'm familiar with.
Oh man, he was really good. Like in the Just for Laughs best of bits. Yep. Yeah.
He's one of the funniest observational comedians out there, or was out there. Like, he just had a way of delivering that I really caught on to. Matthew had mentioned something earlier when he was starting his list of people that, because I actually wanted to go into comedy when I was very, very much like Matthew's age. And I'm going to get eye rolls from him, but somebody that I really respected, that was during my age group of, late 80s and early 90s, Sinbad.
No, you're not going to get an eye roll for that. Okay, Sinbad's fine.
Sinbad. I had a very, very similar style of delivery when I would tell jokes and stuff to Sinbad. So people would always joke that I was going to be the next Sinbad when I was in high school. But I'm too much of an angry soul to be a comedian.
You're the next Sinbad in our hearts, Sandy.
Chair smash. But no, it's always tough when you lose the people that are that make you laugh. I know we were all really hit hard when Robin Williams passed away. So I mentioned, let's support the people out there with cardiovascular and heart issues, but let's also put it out there that we also support people with mental health issues, and want to let everybody know that's watching that if you ever need any help, if you ever need anybody to listen, if you ever need to just talk or vent or anything like that, there are every single person on this panel and every single person in our community. All you got to do is message one of us, and we'll sit there and listen all day long.
I do apologize going in and out back and forth. Normally Sue is home whenever I do these kind of shows, but she is currently at an art party. She drew a lovely painting of a lighthouse. If I can get it, I'll post it up. But yeah, she is currently out. So was that
paint night?
Yeah, East Coast Art Party. They have, it's like 30 people sign up, and then they all paint this one thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
My wife and I do it all the time. I got a whole thing.
I've always wanted to do one. I think they're pretty cool. So yeah, I'm currently dog sitting. So usually, and Molly needs attention. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure that she is well looked after. Yeah, let's go to Hunter and Matthew first. So how it's going to work, Nico and Hunter, I know you guys aren't familiar with the format. How it'll work is, so Hunter and Matthew will debate first. Nico and Sandy, you will be judges along with me. You will get, it'll be I think we go 20 minutes for open, 15 seconds for a rebuttal. And just base your vote on the argument, not the choice. So, my first question for Hunter and Matthew. First, if you're first to say, you go first. But yeah. Okay. So, first question, Hunter and Matthew. Who is the best female stand-up comic?
Chelsea Peretti.
Ooh. I don't watch a lot of female comedians.
Well, and you're going to have a fun time arguing against Chelsea Peretti.
Yeah.
I'll give you one if you want, Hunter.
No, because I wouldn't know who it is, so I wouldn't have any arguments against it.
All right. Okay, I'll give you
then
guys
take Amy Schumer, Hunter.
I was actually going to suggest Amy Schumer.
I
Here, I'll give you guys another one then, because I think this one will be a little bit easier. Picked. What celebrity would benefit most from being roasted?
Being roasted.
For being roasted in honor of Bruce Willis's recent roast at Comedy Central.
Benefit most. Chris Brown.
You know what? Benefit most? So,
5.
give me Jimmy Fallon.
Ooh, interesting. So I did hear Chris Brown first. Judges, keep your ears perked. You have 20 seconds, Hunter, to open. Time starts whenever you start talking.
Okay, so Chris Brown, we know what he's done. We've known all his issues, and that would be so funny for them to bring it up and really just kind of bash him for it, because that what he did was wrong, and they could go into stuff like that. And we know that he's done interviews where he's been sorry about it, but still, that would make him more humble in a way.
Time. Perfect. Matthew Rosa, your argument for Jimmy Fallon.
Just start whenever.
Yeah, whenever you start talking.
Jimmy Fallon is the most hated man in late night television. Nobody really likes Jimmy Fallon's show. A lot of people have a big problem with the way that Jimmy Fallon fake laughs. They have a lot of problem with the way that Jimmy Fallon acts. So the best thing that you could do, set him up with a roast, bring in all of his SNL alumni, bring in all the people that have known him, all the stand-ups that he's performed with. This guy performed at Zanies. He performed at UCB. He would be perfect to be roasted by his friends. He could easily be destroyed by so many different of his friends and colleagues. It would be a very interesting show.
Matthew Rosa instantly loses that best friend status. Jimmy Fallon, I think, is one of the best late night hosts, and he actually.
I actually think he's great too. I'm just saying, a lot of people.
Other people, yeah.
He actually has the same birthday as I do, September 19th. But yeah, okay. So now we go to rebuttals, and what I want to hear, competitors, in your rebuttals is who would be some of the panelists on your roast. I want to hear that. I want to hear that in your rebuttal. So Hunter, 15 seconds, whenever we start talking.
Okay, I'm gonna start with this. I'm gonna rebuttal what Matt said. Pretty much, Jimmy Fallon would laugh it off. He would not learn anything. He's a comedian, so he can take that stuff with stride. Chris Brown, he's heard the stuff. It's all been negative. If you kind of make it into a comedian light about it, he would probably understand it more, and he would probably learn from it.
Man, those were some good panelists.
Dandy panelists. Matthew Rosa, 15 seconds, whenever you start talking.
Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Neil Young. You could give so many different people from different walks of life who would be willing to come in and talk about Jimmy Fallon and the kind of person he is. Tina Fey could talk about how he failed at making the Mean Girls soundtrack. That really happened. Neil Young could talk about how he made him dress up like an old man to do Old Man with him. That really happened. It would be perfect.
Time. All right, panelists. I'm actually really torn. This is super close. I want to Sandy first. Who do you give your vote to?
I'm going to base this solely 100% on your rebuttal question and the fact that Hunter mentioned absolutely nobody from that would come and be a panelist to yap about Chris Brown. I could have named about 12 people off the top of my head right off the bat who would want to take a shot at Chris Brown. And that's probably a really generous number. But so I'm going to give this one to Matthew.
All right, Nico.
Yeah, Hunter didn't mention anyone who would actually be at the roast, and he mentioned he also said that that being a part of a roast would kind of humble Chris Brown and make him realize the error of his actions, which is utter bullshit because he's already been smeared in the public for his actions, and he just keeps going back to the well of terribleness that is his behavior. So I don't feel like he would learn anything from having been roasted. Jimmy Fallon, he is like, first off, that's a killer lineup of people who could go out and roast him just from the first three names you mentioned. Yeah, Matthew won this one.
it pains me to say because I think Hunter actually had a really good rebuttal on how Jimmy would just kind of almost have like a James Franco kind of defense mechanism and just laugh it off, and he'd probably be super baked during the entire roast. If he brought up panelists,
I wish I would have brought up some panelists, but
if you brought up panelists, then I was definitely giving you my vote. But yeah, Matthew kind of hit the nail on the head. All right, so Matthew moves on. He moves on to face the winner of Nico.
That's what I kind of thought.
Title fight, baby.
All right, so Nico and Sandy, my question for you is: these are actually two comics that I'm surprised. Actually, one of them I was meant to brought up, but the other one is pretty iconic. Who is the better stand-up comedian, Jeff Ross or Joe Rogan?
Jeff Ross.
I heard Nico first with Jeff Ross.
It was Nico.
Yeah, so Nico has Jeff Ross. Sandy has Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is one of my personal favorites.
I would have taken Joe Rogan.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's fucking hilarious. Nico, you have 20 seconds. Time begins whenever you start talking.
I have heard a lot of Joe Rogan's comedy, and there have been times where I have not laughed. Every time I hear Jeff Ross's comedy, I laugh because it's random, it's in your face. Again, he's a master of improv. That's what you have to be in order to be such a successful roaster, and that's why they keep bringing him back to every single celebrity roast, because he can just bring things up on the fly. He can attack people on the fly. He has the comedic chops that Joe Rogan does not.
All right, interesting opening. Sandy, your time begins whenever you start talking.
All right, Joe Rogan is a great comedian. He's very topical. He'll talk about things that happened in his past or stuff that is happening in the future. Jeff Ross, I mean, come on, seriously, Jeff Ross he's a roaster. Like he thinks the most disgusting things up about people and says them on air. He's no better, in my opinion, than Lisa Lampanelli. Joe Rogan at least has a set
time. That's a good dig on the last little bit there. Nico, 15-second rebuttal. Time begins whenever you start talking.
I am a former title holder. That's why I said former.
Welcome to the Nico Pondering Hour.
My turn. You can say that all Jeff Ross has is attacks on people's appearances and lives and whatnot, but that's what comedy is. It's about laughing at yourself. It's about bringing the baggage of your life and putting it on a pedestal for people to have fun with, just as you can have fun with. Joe Rogan, he just doesn't make me laugh all the time.
Okay. Sandy, your 15-second rebuttal. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Absolutely, Nico. You're 100% right. Your personal preference of not laughing to Joel Rogan aside, lots of people really, really find him funny. And if you're talking about laughing at yourself, that is not what Jeff Ross does. He's laughing at everybody else.
5, 4.
I don't need any more time.
All right, perfect. I'm going to get my vote right out of the gate. I'm going to go to Sandy because Sandy brought up with Joe Rogan how he has different things, like it's whether politics or whether it's his own personal things. And I didn't hear a defense from Nico on that. And then in Nico's rebuttal, I didn't hear a lot of attack on Joe Rogan. It was more so a defense of Jeff Ross's humor. So my point goes to Sandy. Matthew, I'm going to go to you next. Who do you vote and why?
Yeah, I feel like the line that kind of did my brother in, even though I want to give him my vote, was at least Joe Rogan has a set. That was a killer. And so, yeah, I'm going to go Joe Rogan.
Hunter, your vote unfortunately did not count, but who would you have picked?
For stats purposes.
I would have gone with Sandy. Sandy had the better arguments, better rebuttals. I mean, Nico, during his rebuttals, kind of froze up and was kind of thinking of stuff. And really, as Brooklyn put up, he went to the defense of Jeff Ross over rebutting what Sandy said.
Here's where I stumbled. all and any of my attacks that I would have for Joe Rogan, they're not solely based on his actual stand-up comedy routine. They're based more on the people he brings onto his podcast, giving stupid people a platform to spew their bullshit and whatnot. And I could have also spun that in a positive way for Jeff Ross, being that he has gone to various places and brought communities together by trying to start a dialogue between like cops and people who feel they are victims of police brutality, immigrants and border patrol. But again, it came down to actual stand-up comedy, and I felt like I couldn't bring those points into the discussion here.
Much like Joe Rogan has brought up in the past, you talk about Joe Rogan like you talk about Frank Mir. You talk about them like they're always 3 feet behind you. If anybody listened to his stand-up special, I think it was during a Q&A, somebody started talking shit about Frank Mir, and then he's like, "Oh, well, fun fact: Frank Mir is about 3 feet behind you." Ha! Joking, motherfucker. You never talk shit about an MMA fighter behind their back.
No, and personally, Nico, you and I are in the same boat. But this wasn't about their politics. It was about comedy. So we have Sandy going up against Matt in I think a rematch of Battle for the Ages. I am very excited for this question. I think it's gonna. I think this is going to have some differing views for sure. Your question, gentlemen. What stand-up special does everybody need to see before they die?
Eddie Murphy's Delirious.
So I heard Eddie Murphy first from Sandy, but I did not hear.
But he didn't say what special.
So for me, it was an audio. Yeah. It was an audio.
I heard the same thing you did, Brooklyn, which is that Matt said an actual stand-up set.
I heard Sandy first say Eddie. So what I'm gonna do is, since I heard Sandy first, I will give him the opportunity to pick the special.
I kind of feel rotten now because I started out first, but I said Eddie Murphy Delirious.
You did say Eddie Murphy Delirious? Okay, so I will give him the I did Sandy first.
No, you know what?
I didn't hear Delirious, so apologies.
If it didn't get heard, then it doesn't count. So I'm okay. Yeah. You know what? I'm okay with Matthew Rosa taking Eddie Murphy Delirious. I will take I'll take I don't even care which set it is. Which was one that you liked the most from George Carlin, the Live from New York, right?
Jam It Out of New York.
Jam It. I'll take that one.
Okay.
I've seen them all, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. So, Matthew Rosa, Eddie Murphy Delirious versus Sandy Robinson's George Carlin, Jam It Out New York. 2 classics of stand-up specials. Matthew Rosa, since I guess you are first, 20 seconds. Time begins today. We start talking. Judges, keep your ears perked.
I feel like the problem with taking George Carlin's Jammin' It in New York is the fact that that is not an essential set. I feel like George Carlin had an essential career, but he does not have one essential special. I feel like Eddie Murphy's Delirious is something that if you are a fan of comedy, you need to see. You need to see Eddie Murphy's Delirious to better understand comedy, to better appreciate comedy. You will hear jokes that will make anybody laugh. He's the best crossover stand-up of all time. George Carlin is a man's man, but he's only for stand-up.
Okay. Very Coy Jandro-esque, get in all the words. Sandy Robinson, 20 seconds. Time begins whenever you start talking.
George Carlin's Jammin' in New York is essential for the simple fact that it can be at any time, in any age, and any generation. The problem with Eddie Murphy's Delirious is that it's stuck in the 80s. Every joke, everything is about something in the 80s. If you showed somebody from the 90s or from the 2000s or from the 2010s, they wouldn't have any clue what half those jokes were. George Carlin at least talks about things that are everyday things that everybody knows.
Time. All right, good opening for sure. Mr. Rosa, 15-second rebuttal. Time begins whenever you start talking.
Oh, Sandy, you did your own demise because clearly you haven't seen Eddie Murphy's Delirious recently. There's only really 2 80th century jokes, and those are the jokes based around James Brown and Michael Jackson. And the fact of the matter is James Brown and Michael Jackson are absolute icons. Everybody knows who James Brown and Michael Jackson are. and the rest of it is about his family, his life, and black guys at movie theater. So you are just wrong.
Time. All right, interesting rebuttal. Sandy, the floor is yours. 15 seconds whenever you start talking.
So I will rebut right away with Matthew Rosa saying the exact same thing that he said to me. You just made your own demise. Not only did he talk about Michael Jackson and the other person that you mentioned, he also talked about Stevie Wonder, which was a huge joke for the longest time. He made a Mr. T joke. He made a Bill Cosby joke. 80s, 80s, 80s.
Time.
Bill Cosby joke is from Raw.
Fuck, boys. I'm super torn.
Oh, same.
Mr. T and Bill Cosby are both from Raw. It's not fair. It's a lie.
That wasn't brought in. It wasn't brought in time. That wasn't brought in during the official.
Fake news over there. It's all fake news.
He's using alternative facts.
Alternative facts coming from that side.
Hunter, I want to hear. Hunter, I want to hear yours first. I want to hear your thoughts first.
Man, you had to go to me first. Okay. This one is very freaking hard, but I think the one that really swung me over was Sandy talking about Eddie Murphy being stuck in the 80s and that time period. If I watched it today, I might not understand all the references and the jokes. So I'm giving my point to Sandy.
All right, Nico, I want to go to you next.
Okay, so here's what I'm stuck on. Matthew brought up a really good point of the special that he mentioned was the special to watch, whereas George Carlin is a comedian whose career you need to watch. And I feel like after Matthew said his opening, Sandy kind of fed into what Matthew had already said by mentioning George Carlin's body of work and how timeless it is, but not exactly mentioning the special itself that he was fighting for. So in that regard, I feel like Matthew might have taken this.
Ooh, it's tied.
Okay, before this is kind of off topic, but I'm pretty sure we're right on this. You got no ice cream is from Raw, right? Not Delirious.
No, the ice cream is from Delirious.
You got no ice cream.
That is from Delirious.
Yeah.
Because your daddy is an alcoholic. I'm really fucking torn because I think Jammin' in New York is in my opinion, Jammin' in New York is the better of the two. Because I think, because Sandy brought up really good points that Eddie Murphy's is really dated. There's also, there's a certain joke in there too that really tarnishes Delirious for me, but Sandy didn't bring it up.
I didn't want to bring it up.
Had you brought it up, it makes my decision a lot easier. I have to give it to Matthew because
and still
I love Jammin' in New York, but I didn't hear enough about the actual set. How he talked about war, how he talked about the dumbing down of words, and how
I'm gonna accept that. I don't need to hear it. I'm gonna accept your judgment, but we didn't hear anything about Delirious either. By the way, no set points. I brought the set points up. But
I got your back, Sandy.
If that's your answer, then that's your answer. I understand. I'm so torn. I'm one of my favorites. I'm Roman Reigns, and that's Brock Lesnar. He's walking around with my title because I actually won.
Done.
All right,
into this.
Matt's just keeping it warm.
Matthew, you are the first defending champion of the late champion of the World Heavyweight Competition. How do you feel going up in stand-up week?
Stand-up comedy is something I love so much, and I was going to argue to the death for Eddie Murphy's Delirious. I think it is the most essential stand-up special of all time, and man, but he really brought it against me, and I was very panicked that I was going to lose to Sandy there. So Sandy, you brought it, but this is my belt, and I'm going to keep defending it until the show goes off the air.
Sandy, this is your unfortunate second chance at reclaiming that belt.
My second rubbing.
How do you feel? You tugged at my heartstrings with jamming in New York. Unfortunately, just couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, you know what? In all honesty, I would have been surprised to win this one. I haven't watched Jammin' in New York, and as Matthew expertly pointed out, I also haven't seen Delirious, even though I have both of them on DVD. I haven't seen them in a little while, but that just gives me an excuse to go back and watch some real good comedy, especially with all the other people you guys mentioned that I've written down that I haven't seen. I know Matthew is going to kill me when I said this, but the person that was his favorite
John Mulaney?
Yeah.
You haven't watched John Mulaney?
I haven't heard of him before.
Oh, you need to.
I've already got one of his comedy specials queued up on my phone, and I already have that song, the song you guys were talking about. I've got that queued up on YouTube, ready to go on my list. So,
yeah. Which one would you recommend for him? Matt? For me, I think New in Town or Live at Radio City Hall. I'm not sure which one is the best of his Netflix ones.
Netflix ones, yeah, I'd probably go Kid Gorgeous, Live at Radio City. Yeah, I think that's probably his best, and it's very short. It's shorter than a lot of specials, so it's bite-sized. You can just watch it, you can get through it, and you'll realize just how amazing John Mulaney is.
I'd say watch all of them in the order in which they came out.
Yeah.
Well, Comeback Kid is awesome.
Yeah,
the happy birthday joke is amazing. Big ass A! Big ass A!
The top part, yeah, the top part. That's awesome.
The top part, yeah.
Yeah.
This guy is so messed up. He calls the head the top part.
Today, yeah. So a fun fact, guys. I used to get blackout drunk every day. That is not a lie. But my friends and I had this great party at Mr. Kerrigan, I think was his name. And Mr. Kerrigan was a teacher at my school, and Mr. Kerrigan was an asshole. So
you forgot the best part of the setup of that joke, though. He says, I used to be a blackout drunk. I used to blackout drinking every night. And then he says, I know. It doesn't look like I've done anything in my life. It looks like I've been in some dark room eating saltine crackers for the past 27 years. And then I just kind of came out here. You can't leave that part out.
Yeah. Another comedian I was kind of thinking about that we talk about Mitch Hedberg. Rest in peace. Mitch Hedberg was able to have like a non-segue kind of show and just have random topics that would work super well. But I think that is it. We are almost at the 2-hour mark. I want to thank the entire panel for coming on today. That was a great talk of Collider shenanigans, movie talk, and then the great stand-up debate. I think that's probably one of the best debates that we've had in a while. So I want to thank our defending champion, the Minor Fan Matthew. Where will find you?
You can find me on Twitter at OTOYT Music. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Pretty much everything else is on the tip of your tongue. You can find me on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, all that good stuff with my single Better Half, which recently crossed the 1,000 play mark, which is a huge milestone.
It's awesome.
And we're promoting as hard as we can, and as more happens, you guys will be posted.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah, to our unfortunate loser of the belt today, Sandy Robinson. Where can the cool kids of the world find you?
Wow. All right, guys. Everything's all good. I love losing to Matthew. It's a privilege of mine to lose to him in these little debates. As long as that when my team comes knocking on Afro Samurai's door, that does not happen. So anyway, you guys, this has been a blast. I'm really happy. You guys can find me all over the Trivia Network, all over Facebook and YouTube. You can see me. You can get me on my Twitter. That's srobinson1799. The numbers mean nothing, so it doesn't matter. But other than that, we got a new Full Metal Geek episode cut that's coming up next Thursday. So tune in for that. We'll be doing that at 9 East. But other than that, you can catch me Worldwide Movie Games Take 3 doing Rank 'em on Sunday, and that's it. Full Metal Media. Go Chance, go.
Nico Suave Rigoli, where can the cool kids of the world find you?
Okay, so me personally, you can find on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli. That's NicoSuaveRegoli. And as for my work over at Multiplex Entertainment, Facebook and YouTube that's the name for those. At Multiplex YT is the Twitter handle. Multiplex Entertainment Network is the Instagram handle. I've got a variety of matches coming up these past few days. Yesterday, you saw me and Matthew take on Grant and Sean, Equipo Asesino in Worldwide Movie Trivia Teams. Today, you saw me take on Jim Green in Multiplex Fandom Fight. Also, today, we had a bit of an uploading issue, but Brooklyn, your match with your partner, Ed Sale, Royal Flush taking on Arkham Knights in Fandom Fight Teams. It's uploading right now, finally. We're getting that taken care of. Tomorrow, I have my long-awaited rematch with Caleb Coho in the Comic Book League. And then on Sunday, you can watch me take on Irina Muha in Worldwide Movie Trivia Singles. Check out Mayhem at the Multiplex. That's our big pay-per-view event coming up in the next coming weeks. And special announcement, I'm working on designs for champion-exclusive T-shirts. So if you win a belt in Multiplex, you get a T-shirt that no one else will. Be on the lookout for that.
I think the only thing that we didn't have from Nico was his email address and his favorite sandwich, but I do already know.
Can we get your social security real quick?
No, you cannot.
Sandy, you were saying?
Does Nico have a teleprompter in front of him? Like,
He must. I'm Ron
He's having memorized.
I actually had my notes app up.
freaking amazing accomplishment right there. Like, holy crap.
He did that all one breath, too.
I have to freaking write all my crap down because Nico's making me look bad. I'm just like, yeah, just find me wherever, I'm all over the place, blah, blah, blah. And Nico's like,
I legit had to write everything down, so it's not. I'm human. I'm human.
I'm going to need to do that.
I'm Ron Burgundy. God damn it! Who put the question back on the teleprompter? And Hunter, the Hitman Shameless. Where can everybody find you? Oh, sorry. Sorry. 1 second. Sandy, that was from Anchorman. I know that's a movie that you haven't seen. One of the greatest comedies ever.
Anchorman is incredible. I love that movie. You guys can find me over at my YouTube channel, Film Nerd TV. You guys can check out my Patreon, my Stardust, and my Twitch at Film Nerd TV. Film Nerd Gaming for Twitch. You guys can find me over at Multiplex Entertainment playing so many trivia matches. I have no idea which ones are. I'm not like Nico. I can't memorize all of mine. You guys can find me on Twitter at Film Nerd TV, and yeah, I think that's about it.
All right, very quickly, Twitter at the real BK10. Jukebox Trivia go live. We try to go live every Monday. We had a bit of a hiatus this week. Because I was sick all weekend. Crossing our fingers that we can get JTH versus Zadius versus Zach Ford. That is going to be a qualifier for the last spot for the Jukebox Heads Up tournament. That'll be happening later this month. Very excited for that. You can find me here on Take 3 Productions. I run the Late Night with Take 3 show. We're talking everything Collider movies, World Night movie games, Jukebox Trivia, everything. Be sure to check us out next week where we're going to be talking about movie monsters with the release of The Meg on Friday. And be sure to check out the rest of Take 3, the Summit, Suddenly Soundtracks, Second Look. I think it's going to be a hiatus, but it'll be coming back. The reactions that we do for the Schmodown. Excuse me. You can also find me on the World Night Movie Games and Network, Multiplex Entertainment, the match that I have with Ed Sale going up against what the hell are their names? It's Robert Parker.
Arkham Knights.
Arkham Knights. There we go. You can also find me hopefully when the sports division comes back. I want to kick some ass there. The one division that I can kick ass in. But yeah. Sandy's showing off his plethora of shark books.
The Meg books.
All the Meg books. I did not realize that the Meg was a big thing.
6 of them, buddy.
Wow. Okay, cool. All right, guys.
Hey.
Sorry.
Sorry. One thing I want to plug is that myself and my partner, Brian Fernandez, the Strangers, will be having our Worldwide Trivia Tag Match here, hopefully in the next month or so. So look out for that one on their channel.
Cool. This might be the longest plug section ever, but it was a great show. For Hunter, for Matthew, for Nico, for Sandy, and myself. Like, comment, subscribe on Take 3 Productions. Follow the Facebook page. Beer, check us out. We put out videos almost every day. Cheers, guys, and as always, drive safely.